Daf Mem Dalet Amud Beis will begin Daf Mem Dalet Amud Aleph, 2 lines from the bottom. So we learned previously that the mishras that it says by Nazir, that it's infused with the wine. It's coming to teach me that Hatam Mitzdarf is Frek the Gemara V'hai Mishras L'Hachid also. Is that so? Is that really coming to teach me? I need it for the following. Droshem Mishras. It says Mishras Litain Tam Ki Iker. It's to teach me that the tam, the taste, is like the Iker. She'im Shor Anavim B'Mayim. If he soaked, if the nozer soaked the grapes in water, V'yesh Behem Tam Yain, and the water has the taste of the wine, Chayev. He's Chayev. We treat it like the water. Now Rashi's pshat is we treat it like the water itself is wine. Since the water has the taste of the wine, so it's like the water itself is wine, because it has the tam. The tam is ki'ikir. The Baal Mor learns differently. He learns that the tam is ki'ikir as long as there's taste. The taste is not bottled. The taste is still there. It's like it's still present. Normally we'd say that the water would be mevatel, the wine, the juice of the grape. I'm telling you, the tam, as long as there's a taste, it's not bottled, but it's not like the water itself is like wine. But Al Kopan, we learn over here from the Mishras Litain Tam Ki'ikr, that if there's a tam of the yain, that is chayev, and mikana tedan l'chol ha'Torah kula. You can learn out from here the kol ha'Torah kula. Uma nazir shein isiru isur oilam. A nazir, the isur is not forever. The nazir is stam naziris is 30 days. The naziris is for whatever period of time he made the naziris. But just because he's a nazir doesn't mean he'll be a nazir forever. So it's not. It's ein isur oilam. Vein isur isur hana. There's no isur hana. And Nazir is allowed to get, he's allowed to sell grapes, for instance, and get the benefit from it. V'yesh heter le'isura, and there's a heter for the isur. He can be mater, he can be shoyal on his naziris, he can annul the naziris, so there's a heter for it. Nevertheless, even though it has all of these kulas, also like tam kiker, nevertheless, it's still, the tam is kikers, it's also so kilayim. The kilayim, if he planted grapes and with wheat together, kilayim, shisur Yisraelim. This is forever. Once it's big kalayim, it's always awesome. So it's Israel, v'isura Israhano, and there is a Israhano, v'ein heter le'isura, and you cannot undo that Isur. You can't be mater, ein edin. She also tam ki'ikir. Certainly we should say tam's ki'ikir, v'odin la'orla b'shtayim, and by orla we have two of these factors, chumras, apply. The third one doesn't apply. The third one doesn't apply is because that we say that, according to Rashi, it's not an Isser forever, because the Orla is only for 3 years. After 3 years, there's no Isser of Orla. That's the way Rashi learns. Taisus learns not like that. Taisus says the Isser is not on the tree, the Isser is on the fruit. The fruit of the Orla, once it's Orla, it's always Isser. The Isser always remains. The fruit that grew afterwards, the fruit of the years subsequently, that's a different fruit. That's not the same fruit, but the fruit that had the Isser of Orla, that Isser always remains. That Isser is never going to become mutter. So therefore, the Ri learns rather that what we're talking about over here is the kula that's by Orla. The one that doesn't apply by Orla is that yesh heter le'isura. That we're talking about the 4th year's produce. The 4th year's produce is revai, and there's a heter, you can be poidet. That's the one that does not apply by Orla. But I'll call upon him. We can learn out from here. We say we learn out from here, Mishras Litain Tam Ki'ikir. And we learn it from Nazir, and we learn it out for Kal V'chaimer from Kilayim and Orla. So how can you say that we learn Mishras that had to mitzaref le'asur? The more answers, how many? That what we say is to tell me that that tam is ki'ikir, that's Rabbonani. That's going according to the sheet of the Rabban. Then Mishras is to tell me Tam Keke. The Rabbi Yochanan, Domik Rabbi Kiva, the Rabbi Yochanan that said that we learn from Mishras that Hatam Mitzaref Le'Isr is going according to Rabbi Akiva. Back to Gemara, hey, Rabbi Akiva, which Rabbi Akiva are you referring to? Ilim, Rabbi Akiva the Masnis, if it's Rabbi Akiva the Mishnah in Nazir. That says this non Rabbi Akiva Imer Nazir Shishor Pita B'Yain. If a Nazir took the bread and soaked it in wine, V'yesh Boy Letzarv Kedei Kazayis, and there's enough to combine it with the Kazayis, Chayev, then is Chayev. So, therefore, we're assuming what that means is that if it's Yesh Boy Kedei Letzarv, it means there's enough to combine. You can combine the wine with the bread, and you have a Kazayis, then it's Chayev. So, that would mean that heter mitzaref l'isr. You're combining the wine with the bread. So, for the Gemara, what's your right? How do you know he's teaching us heter mitzaref l'isr and the combination that sirf is pasi yain? Dilmat miyain lechudei. Maybe it's only the wine, and it's referring only to the wine and not to be misaref with the pots. You say miyain lechudei ma'ila meimor, but that's the case. What's the chiddush? If it's only wine, what's the chiddush? No, hakamash malan. The taruvas. Therefore, it tells me that even though it's in a mixture, it's not wine that's alone, but it's absorbed in the bread, and even though it's al yedei taruvas, then is chayiv as long as there is a kazais of the wine. The wine alone, even though it's in a mixture, even though it's in a taruvas, you're chayiv. So you have no conclusive raya from there that Rabbi Kiva holds had to mitzaref le'isr.
Ella, the Gemara says, Ella Rabbi Kiva, the Barais. We see which Rabbi Kiva is referring to as Rabbi Kiva that taught in the following Brisa. From here, you see that he holds that Hatam Mitzaref Le'Isr. Tisanya, we learn in the Brisa Rabbi Kiva, Iman Nazir Shishar Pita B'Yayin. If the Nazir took the bread and he soaked it in wine, Achel Kazayas Mipasam Yayin Chayet, and he ate a Kazayas from the Pas and the Yayin, is Chayet. So you see over here that there must be a combination of the pas and the yain. So you must say that heter mitzaref li'isr. Rashi explains that if we're talking about where the bread was the tam of the yain spread through the entire piece of bread, and therefore you have the tam over here of the yain in the bread, well, if that would be the case, you really wouldn't be able to learn out that Hatam Mitzaref Le'Isr because he's chayv, because tam ki'ikr, because the tam is spread through the whole piece of bread, and therefore Rashi Lishit also holds that it's considered the Isra Mamish, even on the bread, so you wouldn't be able to learn this out. So what's the right? Perhaps we're talking about where the wine spread, the tam of the wine spread to the entire piece of bread. Rashi explains no. Because if that would be the case, then that wouldn't be Dafka Rabbi Kiva. The Rabbanon would agree to it. Elamai, we must be talking about a case where the wine did not spread throughout the entire piece of bread, only to part of it. And according to the Rabbanon, therefore, if they don't hold Heter Mitzaref Le'Isr, and therefore you don't have a shear. But according to Rabbi Kiva, he holds Heter Mitzaref Le'Isr, so even though you have part of the bread where there's no tam of yayin, it didn't spread to that, but you say Hatam Mitzaref Le'Isr, you combine the two and you have a shear, and there is why does Rabbi Kiva know that tam ki-ikr? Where does he learn that out? Now, so Rashi explains that tam ki-ikr is, even though he holds Hatam Mitzaref Le'Isr, but that wouldn't necessarily teach you tam ki-ikr, because maybe Hatam Mitzaref Le'Isr. So that's in a case, for instance, like where you soak the bread in wine. So not only does it have the flavor of the wine in the bread, but it's visible. The wine is visible. So perhaps over there he would say Heter Mitzaref Le'Isr. But in a case where you soaked grapes in water, and then you don't have any visible wine mixed in it, you only have the taste of the grapes. So perhaps over there you would not be chayv. How do we know in such a case where you don't have the mamoshes, where the item itself is not visible, it's not nikir? How do you know in such a case also that the tam itself, that little bit of tam, that taste is enough to be also to create an isser, and it's also on account of the tam itself without the mamoshes? So how do we know that? More answers, we learn it out from Basa B'chalav. So, and we say over there, Lav Tama B'alma B'aser. When you have Basa B'chalav, in a case where you cook meat and milk together, so if you have a taste of the milk in the meat, and even though the milk might not be visible, even though there's no milk that's visible over there, but you have the taste of the milk in the meat, the Torah answers it. So the Torah answers Basa B'chalav. So you see the Torah answers Tam. Here also, in other cases, there's no difference. There's no chilek, and Tam is also. Rabbanan or Rabbanan say, no, you can't learn out from Basa B'chalav because Basa B'chalav mi Basa B'chalav gamin in the Dirshu. That's a chiddush, and you can't learn out from a chiddush. Well, my chiddush, what's the chiddush? If the chiddush you want to tell me, because each one on its own, that it's mutter. The milk on its own is mutter. The meat on its own is mutter. So they're both independently mutter. But when they come together, when you cook them together, they become also. So that's a chiddush. So Gemara says, what's a chiddush? Kilayim nami. You have the same case with kilayim. The halakudei shori. Each one on its own is mutter. So, for instance, a beged made out of a garment made out of wool is mutter. A garment made out of linen is mutter. But when you combine the two materials together, it's also halakudei shori bahadade. Also, but when you combine them together, it's also. So we see another case, another precedent for this. So why do you say Basa B'chalav is a chiddush? And the Gemara says the Torah like Kuli Yomi B'chalav shori. If you would soak the meat with the milk a whole day, midaraisa, that would be mutter. That wouldn't have a din midaraisa of Basa B'chalav. The Rabbanan certainly would, but not daraisa. And bashali b'shul also. But if you cook it together, it becomes also. Now it has the taste of the milk either way, but it's only day bishul, so it's a chiddush. So therefore, you can't learn out from a chiddush. So Rabbi Kiva, so that's a very good kasha. Rabbi Kiva nami Basa B'chalav v'ana chiddush, it's certainly a chiddush, and therefore you can't learn out from there. So how, in fact, does Rabbi Kiva know? Where does he learn out that Basa B'chalav, that Tam Kiga rather, that Tam Kiga is also? Ela Yolif Migavule Nochrim. Where he learns it out from is the parsha of the Torah, where the Torah said that you have to kasher the pots, the kelim, from going by Midian. So the Torah says in the case where there's milchama with Midian, and they captured the salal from Midian, and they had their kelim. So it requires geula. It has to be kashered. Why does it have to be kashered? Because there's an absorption in the walls of the pots of the kelim. It absorbed the macholos asurim. So we have over here a case where it's not mamish, it's not the physical substance itself, it's only the taste. The taste is absorbed into the walls of the keli, and nevertheless the Torah says you have to kasher. So doesn't that teach you that tam is also? Gilu nachem lav taima ba'al mahu. Also, isn't that only taste? And it's also achanami lo yishna. Here also, there is no difference. In other cases, another yisrael shabbatar as well, that even though it's only taste, it's awesome. So you see the tam kikir. The Rabbanan hold Gil and Nachem. Namechidushu said, no, you cannot learn out from Gil and Nachem, but that's also a chiddush. Why is that? Da kol neisen tam with gamuta, the gaminam in avail, also. Because normally we would say that a tam that is spoiled is mutter. If it's a tam of gam, it's mutter. And over here, it's also. So that's a chiddush. Now, what does that mean? Because normally we say that we learn out from Nevela that it says that by Nevela that it's also, a Nevela is also to eat, and you have to give it to a ger taisha. So we learn out that from Nevela that what is also, is also something that's edible. Something that's not edible, that we say, then it does not have the isser. So something that's spoiled, the isser of achila doesn't apply. Now, therefore, we would say that by a taste that's spoiled, therefore, minat Torah should be mutter. And we mutter. V'hacha also. And here, by geula nochrim, we say you have to kasher. Now, even though it's spoiled, you have to kasher, so that's a chiddush. So the Meforshim speak out that now, even though, and Ayn Rand, Avodah Zorah, even though really it's not the same, I mean, we're learning out from a nevela, and nevela, if something is spoiled, there's no isser there. When we say spoiled, we mean it's not roy la'achila. Over here, the taste, when we say the taste is spoiled, we don't mean that it's spoiled to that level. We mean that it's spoiled to the level that it's not a taste that's beneficial. But nevertheless, in the relevant areas, the whole benefit of taste is that it has something that gives a good taste. Otherwise, it has no value. So over there, we say when it's spoiled, then there's no isser. By achila, the benefit of achila is something that not only has a good taste, but also satisfies a person, fills them up. So therefore, we say by achila, it's only if it's spoiled to the extent that a person wouldn't eat it, the isser does not apply. By taste, as long as it's a spoiled taste, the isser doesn't apply. So therefore, the Rabbanan say you can't learn out from a ge'ulei nokrim because over there it's a chiddush. That taste is only also if it's beneficial. If it's spoiled, it wouldn't be also. And yet the Torah also the pots of the goyim, it has to be kosher, even though the taste is a tam l'pagam. So how does Rabbi Kiva deal with that? Rabbi Kiva says, no, it's not a chiddush, and you can learn out from there. Rabbi Kiva, he learns like Rabbi Kiva, that it only Torah only also b'kedera bas yoma, a kedera that used during that day, meaning a pot that was used only for prior to 24 hours. Hasn't been used within that day. The taste is considered spoiled, it's considered gam, and you would not have to kasher it. That the Torah says you have to kasher it is talking about a pot that was used within 24 hours. There, the taste is not considered to be gam, it's not considered to be spoiled, and therefore, that's why it has to be kasher. So that's not a chiddush, and therefore you can learn out from that case. You can learn out from Gilul Nochim. So therefore, he holds nice and tam l'fgam. It's not nice and tam l'fgam, and it's not a chiddush, and therefore you learn out that tam is also. Rabbanan, they say no. Kedera bas yema and nami lo'yefsha lo'pagma porta. They hold even a kedera bas yema that it's somewhat spoiled. So based on the halachas of a tam per se, and the isser of tam, you would not have to kasher it. The fact that the Torah says you have to kasher it, that is a chiddush. Because even if I would say that tam is ki ikir, but I should not have to kasher it because it's still considered somewhat spoiled. So the fact that the Torah says you have to kasher it, that's a chiddush. So therefore the Rabbanan say you cannot learn out from there to Chol Torah Kula. They learn out from Mishas Chol Torah Kula. Rabbi Kiva says, no, that's not considered tam l'fgam, and therefore it's not considered a chiddush. Therefore, you can learn out that just like there, the Torah ases tam, Chol Torah Kula, Torah ases tam. What do I learn out from Mishas? I learn it from Mishas, that hetem mitzaref li ism.